His smashed up car is found near the gas station with the windows completely shattered. Jackson summons the townspeople in the common chapel and hears about more missing people, pets, and electrical devices, including ovens and generators. An old man also complains that his radio has been transmitting gibberish since some days ago. Curious, Jackson talks with his assistant privately and discovers that it is a military frequency emitting from a nearby water plant. He then has his officers tune their radios to the frequency and soon hears about something called Operation Walking Distance. Sounds boring. Meanwhile, Joe and the boys are filming a scene in front of Dr. Woodward's home, which is being cleared out by the military. Charles chose this location apparently to increase the production value of his film. Just then, Jackson arrives at the scene and scolds his son for not listening to him. He had told him not to befriend Louis's girl Alice. He then confiscates his video camera and locks him inside the car. Seeing the military clearing out Dr. Woodward's home, Jackson confronts General Nellick and demands answers. He also mentions hearing the words Operation Walking Distance in the radio frequency. This shocks the general, and he finally agrees to reveal what's going on. He asks Jackson to meet him in the evening at a nearby airfield. The latter obliges, and he excitedly heads to the said location, but as soon as he arrives, he's
Let me show you how we do stuff around here.
Actually, my department uses Monday.com, so I'm good.
arrested and locked up inside a cell. Meanwhile, Alice visits Joe at his home and tries to convince him that her dad isn't a bad man. It turns out Louis was heavily drunk on that fateful morning. He eventually couldn't make it to work, so Elizabeth was ordered to take his shift. But since she wasn't used to his machinery, she made a mistake that ended up taking her life. This is the reason why Jackson can never forgive Louis. But Joe, who appears to be more understanding, says he never blamed Louis for the incident. Just then, his attention shifts to the strange white cube that he found at the crash site. It starts vibrating and shoots through the wall with such great force that it leaves a hole in it. This freaks Alice out, and she rushes back home where her drunk father's been waiting for her. It turns out Louis started drinking when his wife left him for another man. They then get into an argument about Mom, prompting Alice to escape on her bike in the middle of the night. Louis tries to go after her in his vehicle, but due to his drunken state, he ends up crashing. He regains consciousness sometime later when he hears Alice's terrified screams. In a shocking turn of events, the same creature from earlier appears out of nowhere and abducts the helpless girl. The next day, Charles and John, who are unaware of their friend's abduction, get their Super 8 camera fixed. They then examine the developed film and see glimpses of a strange creature emerging from one of the wrecked train cars. As they try to figure out what they saw, they hear loud air raid sirens. They step outside to find the town being evacuated, with everyone directed towards the local military base. Although shocked, Joe and Charles board a bus along with other townspeople. Upon reaching the base, Joe tries to find his dad, but he instead comes across a terrified Louis. The latter reveals that his daughter was kidnapped by a creature, but no one believes him. Joe, who just saw the creature in their recordings, becomes shocked upon hearing this. Determined to rescue Alice, he gathers his friends and the town's camera store owner to help them get back into town. They then sneak out of the base and head towards Dr. Woodward's storage area at the school. Meanwhile, General Nellick is shown talking to a bedridden Woodward. During their conversation, it is revealed that Woodward was part of the team studying the creature. Back at the school, the kids find films, tapes, records, and notes from inside Dr. Woodward's storage area. From these materials, they learn that the creature landed on Earth in its sophisticated vessel in 1958, but it has been held by the military underground. General Nellick was determined to use it for military purposes. He subjected it to torture, but this only caused the creature to turn hostile towards humans. The group also discovers that the creature's ship contains technology that, when taken apart, turns into the small white cubes they found at the crash site. Because Dr. Woodward communicated with the creature, he developed a telepathic link with it. His notes reveal that due to the mistreatment by humans, the creature had become hostile towards him as well. As the kids try to find more, some soldiers burst inside and arrest them. The boys are then taken to the base on a military bus. While on their way, they hear a loud bang above their heads. Suddenly, the creature appears in front of them and starts attacking the soldiers. During the chaos, the driver gets killed and the bus crashes on the side of the road. Joe and his friends are luckily unharmed and they manage to escape through the window. But the soldiers, including General Nellick, aren't so lucky as the creature brutally finishes all of them. In the meantime, Jackson escapes his cell by tricking the guard and rendering him unconscious. He then learns from a kid about how Joe has escaped to the city to save Alice. This worries him, so he immediately finds Louis and takes him along to save their children. After a while, the duo finds themselves in a war zone, with tanks and military weapons firing uncontrollably. It turns out that the chaos and destruction was caused by the alien creature. Joe and his friends seek refuge in a friend's home, but an explosion suddenly blows away the upper part of the house. This results in extensive injuries to Martin, so Charles decides to stay behind and help him. Meanwhile, Joe and Carrie rush to the cemetery to rescue Alice. Joe had learned about the cemetery garage from Dr. Woodward's notes, so he believes the creature has been hiding there. In the next scene, the two boys dodge the explosions and suddenly make it to the garage. They then break through a door and discover a large hole dug several stories deep. Climbing down, they stumble upon the creature's lair beneath the town's water tower. They find various mechanical parts, including items that had gone missing from the townspeople. Boy, there sure are a lot of vibrators in this stash. The boys also spot several individuals hanging from the ceiling, including the missing sheriff and Alice. But before they can rescue her, they catch a glimpse of the creature devouring another person. With time running out, Joe instructs Carrie to light the fireworks that they've brought along. The plan surprisingly works, and the creature gets distracted for a second. This allows the boys to rescue Alice and escape with her. However, they are unable to reach far as they soon come across a dead end. The creature then catches up to them and grabs Joe in its claws, but just as it's about to devour him, Joe speaks up. He confidently says that whatever happened to the creature was bad, and that some humans are really evil, but that doesn't mean it has to kill the entire population. Upon hearing all of this, the creature's eyes suddenly dilate as if it seems to understand the kids' language. It then leaves them alone and flees into the darkness. Joe, Alice, and Carrie return to the surface and gather near the water tower. Just then, nearby mechanical objects are mysteriously drawn to the top of the tower. Truck trailers holding the white cubes also burst open, and the cubes start assembling around the tower's edges. During this time, Jackson and Louie reconcile with their children, while the creature starts climbing up the tower. The mechanical objects and white cubes soon transform into a huge spaceship, and the creature boards it. The movie comes to a close as everyone watches the spaceship rise into the sky and head into the alien universe.
As a disabled business owner, my time is mostly spent writing emails, and before Shopify Magic, probably took me 30 minutes each email. Now I can get them done easily in 5 using my...
Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror mystery movie called Pandemonium. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens with a man named Nathan waking up in the middle of the road. He spots his crushed car nearby and realizes he was just involved in an accident. Surprisingly, he appears to be perfectly fine with no visible wounds. Shortly after, he notices another man named Daniel nearby. It turns out Daniel was riding a motorcycle when he collided with Nathan's car and fell off the cliff. However, he also has no scratches on his body, which astounds them both. Either they're both already dead, or I'll eat my shoe. They try to recall how they got out of their vehicles, but can't remember anything. Daniel speculates that they may be dead. Oh. And that this is the afterlife. However, Nathan refuses to believe this and asks him to stop talking nonsense. He then goes to check the car, which is completely upside down. As he peeks inside, he notices his own dead body, which leaves him in utter shock. Both men begin to freak out and realize that they are indeed dead. Yes. Daniel claims that his wife warned him about the motorcycle, but he didn't listen. He expresses his love for her and says that he will miss her. Meanwhile, Nathan still refuses to accept his death, saying he is too young to die. He reveals that he recently got a promotion and was living a wonderful life. Daniel wonders why Nathan didn't mention his wife, but the latter dodges the question. Shortly after, a car pulls up in front of them, and Nathan feels very hopeful. He states that if they are taken to the hospital, they might still be revived. A man then gets out of the car, and Nathan tries his best to speak with him. However, both men are unnoticed, revealing that they are not visible to common people. The random man simply grabs some money from Nathan's wallet and drives away, shocking the duo. As they contemplate what to do next, Nathan admits that he killed his wife, but he swears to God that it was out of compassion. Just then, Daniel starts hearing melodious music, which Nathan doesn't hear. A white door appears, and suddenly the entire area is covered in snow. As they carefully walk toward the white door, a red one opens nearby. Nathan hears terrible screams coming from the red door, which Daniel does not hear. Seeing this, the two conclude that the white door is the gate to heaven, while the red door must lead to hell. This This means that Nathan is going to hell for killing his wife. He justifies his actions by claiming she was seriously ill and wanted to die. Daniel admits that he has no right to judge him and only wants to go through the white door to heaven. Nathan abruptly pushes him aside and attempts to enter the white door alone, but nothing happens. Seeing this, Daniel says that if he wants to go to heaven, he must behave better. Nathan then apologizes to Daniel for accidentally running over his motorcycle. The latter says it's fine because he was also distracted by a small girl playing on the road. The two men hug each other and say their goodbyes. Daniel then tries to cross the white door, but nothing happens again. He tries several times without success, and he soon begins hearing screaming sounds. Just then, a little girl approaches them and asks if they have seen her mother. It turns out that this is the same girl Daniel saw earlier, and she has also passed away. She reveals that she was hit by a motorcycle and cannot recall what happened after that. Hearing this, Daniel begins to panic and claims it was an accident because he was a bit drunk, but Nathan insists that it was murder because his carelessness ended the life of an innocent child. Following this, the men try to guide the little girl to the white door, hoping to enter together, but she refuses to follow the strange men and begins to scream. In the end, Daniel drags her and throws her inside the white door, where she vanishes instantly. This means that she has been accepted into heaven, whereas they are not. With no other choice, the two decide to accept their fate and enter the red door. Daniel is the first one to go, and he immediately vanishes on the other side. When it is Nathan's turn, he starts to justify himself again, claiming that his wife was depressed. But as he continues blabbering, a massive monster suddenly appears, ready to attack him. This freaks him out, so he eventually crosses the red door and arrives in hell. That thing was scary. I better go where it came from. Upon his arrival, Nathan doesn't see Daniel anywhere, but he sees many tormented souls lying unconscious on the ground. He then comes across a little girl named Jean, and when he grabs her hand, he begins to see visions of her former life. In a flashback, we see Jean in her room, which is in a huge mansion. She is having trouble sleeping because her parents are fighting in the other room. Mom wants to help Jean, but Dad is scared of her for some reason. Tired of her parents' argument, she plays music in her room to drown out the noise. In the next scene, Jean is having a session with her therapist. She reveals that she was cutting biscuits into small pieces to feed the birds. But when the mother bird approached her, she became annoyed and killed all of them. Jean also admits that she enjoys poking her sister with a pen because she hates her. Jean then openly mentions that she once attempted to hurt her parents. When the therapist asks what she did to her sister, the little girl remains silent. The scene shifts to the mansion when Jean awakens and demands breakfast at the dining table. However, no one comes to serve her, which she finds strange. She then enters the living room and notices her parents' dead bodies on the ground. But Jean doesn't seem to be scared, and she casually kisses her mother goodbye. After some time, she makes some jam sandwiches and goes to her basement. Jam sandwiches? That's what she went to hell for. She meets with a terrifying and deformed man whom she calls Tony the Monster. As Jean feeds him, she reveals that both her parents are dead, so he can now live with her upstairs. In the following scene, Tony arrives upstairs and is overjoyed to see sunlight for the first time in his life. He then changes into clean clothes and enters the living room where the bodies of the parents are still lying. Jean asks for his help in moving them, to which he gladly agrees, but she soon stops him and says she has a surprise for him first. Later, we see Jean perform on stage with her deceased parents in the audience. She announces that she awoke this morning to discover them dead on the floor. She then summons Tony to the stage and declares that he was the one who killed them and will be punished. The deformed man claims he's innocent as he was locked up in the basement, but he still plays along and pretends to die by hanging himself. Afterward, Tony brings the mother's dead body and places it under Jean's bed as per her instructions. She then looks in the mirror and states how attractive she is and that all of her friends are jealous of her. Tony also tries to see himself in the mirror, but he is unable to. This means that he doesn't exist in real life and is only in Jean's imagination. My imaginary friend was Vegeta. Tony the Monster is one hell of a choice. In the afternoon, the two go to the dining room and begin eating jam sandwiches again. God damn it. They also have a fruitful conversation about their hobbies and interests. Just then, a delivery man shows up at their door. He has brought along a package and he needs an adult's signature to deliver it, since Jean is too young to sign for it. She calls out to Tony several times. He obviously doesn't answer, so the delivery man leaves, saying that he'll return some other day. Following this, Jean goes to the dining table, but realizes that Tony is gone. She desperately searches the house for him, but cannot find him anywhere. Eventually, she discovers him eating her father's body in the living room. Tony doesn't want her to see him like this, so he yells at her to close the door.
Don't look at me!
In the evening, Jean approaches her younger sister Claire, who is engaged in drawing. The latter inquires about their mom, but Jean casually reveals that Tony murdered their parents. The latter inquires about their mom, but Jean casually reveals that Tony murdered both their parents. She further explains that Tony is hungry again and wants to eat her. Claire becomes scared upon hearing this, but Jean assures her that it will be painless and leads her to the kitchen. She then puts her little sister in the oven, saying it's going to be over soon. Moments later, Claire begins to scream in agony, while Jean leaves the kitchen, cheerfully singing a song. I liked this movie better when it was about Nathan. Chair. In the following scene, Julia is seen driving her car with Chloe's lifeless body in the passenger.
Join the Discord in the description if you wanna, do it. I feel like the zoom's more aggressive. There's no way it's always like it just feels like it's attacking me through the computer screen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mongol Empire time. That's what happens when you don't know what you're doing. Okay, Uganda, give me someone's definitely not trying to do something. Okay, yeah, he knew what he was doing. Bombers. Okay. Okay, what? Not my problem. Not my problem. We just got our country back. That's where we're at.
Yeah, let's not go across my country. I don't think I want you to do that at all.
Alright, chat. I think we kind of cooked. Like, officially, I can say that we've cooked. We're like, moving into China now. USA's doing stuff.